Hello, everyone, and welcome to Snap Take. Today, we have the best decks for all four of the new cards that came to Marvel Snap, including rankings and top player thoughts. Every single card that came out this week, and I know that usually is a grand total of one or maybe two, but it's four this week. We're often going to have 5 card weeks going forward. That's amazing. We're going to talk about and review all those cards. Let's kick it off with Hydra Stomper, who is the 3/2 that came out this Tuesday as a Series 5 card, the only Series 5 card we're going to focus on here. Ongoing, +1 power for each card you move this game. He is fairly often about a 3, like 7, 3, 8, 3, 9, which is great stats. But you don't need that, right? Like you don't need to go out of your way for him. Even in like the most dedicated of move lists, he's a very, very nice card. And once in a while, he's like a 312, 313, and all of a sudden he feels amazing. But that is not the norm with this card. That's not where he normally ends up. He's a very good, but not a great card. He's a card that benefits you, but if you're running like in almost any deck that you see him in, a Gladiator instead, a Sage instead, whatever other card you prefer instead, that's generally speaking going to be high series because 3 is a high series area. But if you're running Rocket and Groot, if you're running any of these cards, you should be at least comparable in terms of power, in terms of utility, as with Hydra Stomper. So this is a very good card, but not one of the better cards in the game, one worth having. We're going to talk about a Hydra Stomper deck first with this Ika Clog list. This is our first Hydra Stomper list. Hydra Stomper basically always goes with Batroc right now. So if you're going to get Stomper, hopefully you have Batroc. If you have Batroc, you don't need Stomper, but it is pretty nice. You actually need Sam Wilson for Batroc, but we'll get to more of that later. For the time being, Hydra Stomper is really strong here, right? You've got the Sam Wilson shield. Moving Sam Wilson shield every turn is enough to make Hydra Stomper at least a 3/6. Plus, you get a couple Silk moves. You're looking at a 3/8, 3/9. Batroc, if you have Batroc out for that, now you're really singing in terms of like top end power. But you also have the extra Spider-Man for a little bit of extra move here as well. And thus you have enough power to make this a very, very competitive deck. And of course, obviously, Werewolf by Night. Gotta love a Werewolf by Night list. This list is built specifically because there's a lot of Clog coming back into the meta. All the Scream move decks, they need places to move and they can end up clogged fairly easily. They're trying to clog the opponent, but they can also end up reasonably often just clogged out themselves. All those Thanos decks are sort of having problems with Clog, so Clog is back in a very big way. It felt like every third or fourth game I played today was against Clog. So if that is your experience, this is a Clog killer. Annihilus absolutely says, I'm not really worried about your silly Clog crap. You can send over all your hoods that you want. You can send over that goblin. Oh no, I can't play a card. Annihilus on 5, or if they have 7 turns, 6, and then you've won that game that it looked like you had no chance in. The creator of this list is the great Ika. Ika is absolutely once more completely on fire. He had 2 decks in yesterday's video. This is yet another killer Ika cook. Twitch.tv/Ika_MTS. Please do go check him out as he's absolutely dominating the Marvel Snap metagame in terms of deck building right now. This deck needs Batroc, Annihilus, and Sam Wilson. Those 3 are your required cards. It's sort of built for Batroc and Sam Wilson, and then Annihilus is how you don't die to all of the clog that's everywhere. Werewolf or Hydra Stomper can be Juggernaut. I think I'd probably want one. You could actually maybe replace both if you want to go like Juggernaut and Sage. This ends up ultimately being fine. Werewolf is very, very, very good for Stomper. So, but otherwise, Werewolf can be a little clunky right now. There's times when Werewolf isn't doing as much. If you can't move him more than twice in a turn, and you can't always, he can be difficult because there's a decent amount of Scream. But God, do I love running Werewolf and Annihilus back to not this past January, the January before when that was one of the 2 or 3 best decks in the game. So the hood is here for 2 reasons. One, you don't have a 6, right? So at the end of the game, one of the things you'd very much like to play is a demon. Plus, you can send hood over either with Viper, Annihilus, or both, which is very powerful. Batroc is, generally speaking, a 1/8, 1/10, 1/12. That's good. You should play those in your deck as a rule. We'll talk more about Batroc later, but Batroc is, let's just say very strong, like consistently and commonly considered to be very, very strong. Sam Wilson goes amazing with Batroc. Whenever it moves Batroc with it, the shield that is. Each move buffs Hydra Stomper 2 if you got Batroc, which is pretty amazing. And then you can move that shield to buff Craven. As long as it hits Craven, you're buffing Craven. All that stuff is pretty damn great. Those 4 cards work as a little package here. Craven can not only work with Sam Wilson or Batroc, it works with Werewolf, it works with Silk, so you get really, really big Cravens in this list. Spider-Man also works with all these cards, but Spider-Man has an extra use. If you want to make sure to get the Void over into the right lane, you can play Spider-Man first, and then Unless they filled a location, you can play Spider-Man first and Viper second, and make sure you get to send over the Void, which is a game-winning play reasonably often against basically anything but Clog. So that's amazing. Silk is largely here for Craven and Hydra Stomper, but it works fine for Batroc in a pinch if you didn't see Sam Wilson. Hydra Stomper, again, has the potential to be like an 11-12 power card with this list. It doesn't always happen because a lot of the time you're going to be spending a lot of your turn playing the Clog package stuff. But don't play Werewolf against opposing Clog, right? You're really going to want to try and go all in on the Annihilate stuff. But if your opponent's just playing a regular deck, if your opponent's playing like Thanos, you should be able to get like an extra 3/9 in Werewolf, which is pretty damn solid. In addition to that 3/9 in Werewolf, we have Viper, who is amazing, especially with Spider-Man, as discussed with Sentry. But hey, just sending over a hood, sending over a rock, getting a free Clog that's not expected is very powerful. When people see Sam and Craven and stuff, they're not expecting it, so they don't always block it. Power must be controlled. Sentry is amazing. It's 9 power that plays for fundamentally 27, right? Because you take -9 from your side, you put it on their side. It really plays for 18 if we're going to be a little more accurate, but it's fine. It's an absolute crazy amount of power. You don't want to play it unless you have Viper or Annihilus, but if you do have Viper or Annihilus, it's one of the best cards in the deck. And then Annihilus is your answer to Clog and your answer to your own Annihilus. Your answer to your own Sentry and Hood. It's really, really very nice to see the Annihilus package. When Annihilus came out, everyone thought Junk was going to be everywhere, Clog was going to be everywhere, and it didn't work out that way. Annihilus ended up being an amazing card with index that just ran Hood and Sentry. Going back to that feels very good. It'll take a little while to learn to play. If you weren't around last time, that was good, but it is worth learning. It's amazing. So, turn 1, you want Batroc over Hood. As a general rule, Hood could actually be a little hard to fit in if you go completely on curve, but Hood on turn 3 with an extra 2-drop is a reasonable spot to drop that. Try not to play Hood in the right location, as a general rule, if you're planning on Annihilating, because the first card you played there will be the one that goes over and the other one will be destroyed, right? Turn 2, you want Sam over Craven over Silk. That's the basic play pattern here. Sam is absolutely incredible. He's like the engine for this deck. He's almost a snap condition. If you're pretty sure the opponent doesn't have Enchantress, you can basically snap it. It almost doesn't matter if the shield gets Red Guardian as long as Sam doesn't. You can keep moving it because moving it is what buffs everything else. Turn 3, you generally speaking want Werewolf. If you have Werewolf and you have the ability, if they're not playing Scream, so on and so forth. Craven is a perfectly fine play on turn 3. This is also the last turn to play Sam and get the full 7 power out of him, and those are both better than Stomper. You can also obviously feel free to drop like a Silk and a Hood type thing. Turn 4, generally speaking, is Sentry, and if you have the way to send Sentry's Void over consistently, you're pretty sure you can get that over. That is a snap condition. Green means potential snap condition, white means snap condition. That's better than a 2/2 as a general rule. Turn 5 is an Annihilus or Spidey and Viper, and that should be a fine play. I know that says Venom. Apparently, I don't know how to type. V words are all one word, I swear. Vipers have Venom, if it counts. And then turn 6 is like Stomper and some stuff, or Shang-Chi and some stuff. Shang-Chi and Demon, Stomper, and like whatever on reveals to get Werewolf where you want him to go. And that's the list. This list is very strong, very cool, and it is an absolute meta beast. Ika's like got a lot of expertise in deck building, but one of the things he's best at in the game, if you saw that recent Darkhawk Scream list that was around, that's Ika. It's figuring out how to play very powerful things into the meta that answer what everyone else is doing. So that is Ika's like top talent, and this is an incredible list. But we still have more lists, so don't go anywhere. We've got another Hydra Stomper Batroc list you're not going to want to miss, and another shell that you will be shocked at. But first, please, before we get there, hit that sub button if you're willing. We bring you more exclusive decks. No one else is sharing these decks. No one else is featuring these decks other than me. If you want the best decks before anyone else, make sure you hit that sub button as we try to hit 25,000 subs in 2025. Also, if you're looking how to optimize snap packs, we covered that. If you're looking for which cards to open in snap packs, we covered that. If you're looking for the data mines for the new Fantastic Four first step season, we covered that. Everything for Marvel Snap on the channel. Hit that sub, like, and comment. We're also giving away our last Captain Carter. I believe our next video is when we're starting to give away the new season pass. So make sure you're ready. There might be a second video today. I haven't fully decided. But if you want that season pass, if you want Captain Carter, sub, like, and then later this video, I'll ask you a comment. I'll ask you a specific question. You answer that in the comments, and you are entered to win a Captain Carter. All right, Hydra Stomper, top player thoughts. A whole bunch of top players give me thoughts on these cards because these are the people that build all the decks that most of us are playing. I know some people build their own decks, but if you're playing like any kind of net deck things from Untapped, Auto Deck Builder, from my videos, from Cam's videos. These are the players that make them. These are the players that are playing at the top level, the most competitive level of Marvel Snap. So the Hydra Stomper top thoughts are Ika says good, but often a cut from move lists. Skata, who's a top player, says plus Silk plus Craven is a good base. Simple enough. Toxic Soul King, another top 100 player, says would be my third place from them, but he's fine most of the time, but not big enough for a 3-drop TBH. I think you have to go all in for him, basically, for him to be big enough to be a 3-drop. You saw in that previous list, we had like Silk and Werewolf and Sam and Batroc. That's what you have to do. Jimmy Dickens, who's a Snap fan writer and one of the better players in the game. He's been in the like top 20 of the Infinite Leaderboard. I think he has some good potential outside of pure move, but I think bounce is just the best thing to do with move type cards. So like you don't really want to do him according to Dickens because move bounce is so much better. Mid-range Silky decks still feel like they're just missing something. I agree. Outside of very specifically potentially Scream decks, obviously, are a powerful thing to do, but I don't know if he goes in Scream. Roram, another top 100 player, Pixel guy right now, he builds incredible decks. We covered one of them yesterday. Seems really strong in Heimdall move list, but will need more testing. Maybe the weakest card of the four. I think there's a reasonable case that he's the weakest of the four, which doesn't mean he's weak. It just means that we just got four amazing cards. Splat, one of the mad genius deck builder types, says Heimdall is back. Which makes sense. Heimdall getting two extra cards that just get huge when you play Heimdall between Hydra Stomper and well, Craven obviously, but like Hydra Stomper gets huge now, and you can even like if you play that Heimdall on the right, your Batroc will jump over there, giving you that extra power, like all that stuff. Oh no, Batroc won't jump over there. Batroc will try and jump to another middle location or whatever. I guess that's not as good. Never mind. Don't put Batroc in that. But yeah, Heimdall is back. Agreed. We'll look at a Heimdall list later this video, I promise. Salty, who was in the top 10 last season's top 20 right now. Solid, but Craven gets bigger in classic move shells, which is a huge problem. I think Craven is straight up a better card than Hydra Stomper right now. Doc Guapo, another top 20 player, a bounce player, says seems really good, can get big easily. Crime Afoot, the person who made that or popularized one of those mill decks that was everywhere. Stomper is another big 3 to drop down, definitely buffs move a little much. Okay. Scream, that's like the high person on it, right? So far. Scream Connoisseur, who built a ton of the Scream decks that you see all over the place, says unsure, also top 10 player. Unsure, but will end up in Scream or Silky Smooth if 6 to 7 power, he's worth it. So Scream Connoisseur doesn't think he needs to hit that ceiling. As long as he's got that floor of hitting 6 to 7, he's going to end up worth it, which I think is an interesting take. W, one of the best deck builders in the game, created Doomwave and numerous other of the best decks ever, says Hydra Stomper is just an awesome card. That and Batroc are obvious studs, team up well and stack power quick. I do think you are going to want Batroc when you want Stomper, but again, you don't need Stomper when you have Batroc. Honifer, yet another top 10 player, says somehow worse than all the Series 4s, seems more mediocre than bad though. Okay, I dig that. Seems more mediocre than bad. It's fine. I think he's a good card. I think that unless a card absolutely blows our mind, we're often like, this card's not that good. It's a little mediocre. I think it's a good to very good card. I just think it is a fundamentally replaceable one. Batroc Zelepil is a 1/2. When a card moves, follow it to gain +2 power once per turn. Batroc feels completely insane. If it can't move and a second card moves, it will follow that second card and get the +2 power. It does take practice. I've been able to beat people who play it. I've lost with it by it ending up in the wrong place, slightly outside of whack, outside of plan, usually because of a Sam Wilson shield. But be that as it may, it's just so much power. It like has to be run. It's easily the card that everyone we're going to talk with all the top players we're going to talk about like the best. I think it's insanely strong. This is like an immediate nerf candidate. This is one of the strongest Series 4 cards in the game, and an easy buy. If you have a bunch of Series 4s you're looking for, but you have like Sam Wilson and the other cards this goes with, feel free to use your tokens on this like right away. All right. Cougar is a genius. The original version of this list, you've probably seen the Ajax Haiva list. Cougar created the original, and then the version that ran Lofty and Grandmaster for a while, that was Roram's edit. Cougar claimed the list back by figuring out, oh, I don't even have to do any extra affliction stuff. I can go even further into move and just run that whole early move package, and I can build up all this early power and then just turn 5 play hazmat, and then all of a sudden, and as long as I moved a card, right, because I've got 18 movers in this list, as long as I moved a card, I can end the game by still going Ajax Miles Abomination and just now, like, I've got early game power and late game power. This is wild, and this is going to be one of the best decks in the game. I'm calling it right here, right now. I fully expect this to be one of the very best decks in all of Marvel Snap. You can find Cougar at twitch.tv/Cougar, 2 O's and 3 R's. He's got finals over the next couple of weeks. He's in college, and as soon as he's done, he's going to be streaming. He's one of the best players in the game. He's one of the best deck builders in the game. He's brilliant. This deck needs Ajax, Evo, Sam, and Batroc. I think Batroc is needed for this version. Obviously, there's a different version of this that only needs Ajax, Evo, and Sam, but that's not what we're covering today. Hydra Stomper, Rocket Groot, and Silk can be Cass and Red Guardian. You can also run other good 2s and 3s here, like you can do worse than a Scorpion type card. That's fine. Laufey can be Man-Thing. I think Laufey's better because Shadow King has started to go down a little bit. When Shadow King was very, very, very popular for a while, Laufey was Man-Thing was going to be better, but right now I think it's back to being Laufey. All right. So Batroc is amazing in this list. It works the same way it does in the other list, with Sam Wilson, with Silk, with now Rocket and Groot as our cards that we're trying to trigger the Batroc with. Even if it ends up a 1/6, that's a demon. You're always happy to play a demon. You don't have to do a hood to deal with any of that. It's amazing. Hazmat is your turn 5 play almost exclusively. Your goal with Hazmat is to hit 5 of your opponent's cards to give yourself a free Abomination to play with the Giant Ajax, who's again with at least 5 of your opponent cards, at least a 5/12 to play with a 1/6 Spider-Man from a mover. It's amazing. It's cheap. You don't run Luke Cage, so it's going to give your own stuff negative, but you get that power back on your own Ajax. Sam Wilson is a ton of power. We talked about Batroc. We talked about Craven. I don't know how to say that again. Same thing for Silk. We know what all this does. Hydra Stomper here gets enough stats, especially if you just drop Silk. You just keep dropping things on Silk and watching her move, and then if they play cards on Silk, it moves more, and every bit of those moves really makes Hydra Stomper big, and like at least the first one's going to follow Batroc, and you can still be moving the shield, and all that's really, really great for Hydra Stomper, and then you just end up with like a 3/8. That's a pretty good thing to play, sometimes more than a 3/8 to play, especially on turn 5 with Hazmat when you have the whole rest of the combo. Rocket Groot is an afflict card that moves. So he is the rug that ties the room together. He is a card that you want to play, get a couple afflictions, and then move it around turn 5 to make sure that your miles is cheap. Laufey is very often the turn 4 play, not always, but he basically says, okay, let's just be huge in one lane. You drop him on an empty lane that your opponent's competing in, and all of a sudden you end up with like a 4/9 or more, because don't feel bad to hit your cards, and you just go to town. Miles, we've talked about, get a move, play him for 1 on the last turn. High Evolutionary is the cost of doing business for Abomination, but you're perfectly happy to have a 4/7 in general. If you must play it, like you don't feel bad for a 4/7. Ajax is the biggest thing, and Abomination is the cheapest thing, and you're pretty happy with both of those. All right, so turn 1 you want Batroc, turn 2 Sam over Craven over Silk, turn 3 Craven if Sam, Rocket and Groot otherwise, and then Stomper is just a fine play. Turn 4 Laufey over 2/2. If you played Sam into Rocket and Groot, or you played Silk into Rocket and Groot, you can now go Sam and Craven, for example. Then turn 5 is Hazmat and Stomper, or if you didn't play one of the 2s, Hazmat one of the 2s. And then turn 6, Ajax, Abomination, and Miles, and then you win. That's it. You plant up 3 crap tons of power with this list with a bunch of cheap stuff. You end up with early scalers that end up like it's not uncommon to see Craven get to 9, 10, 11 power. Your Sam hits a 6 power total. Like your Batroc is easily a 6 power. And you just end up with like a bunch of really, really big cards. Your Rocket and Groot represents 6 power. Your Laufey is keyword big. Like you end up with a lot of really big cards, and then Ajax and Abomination are too much on top of them for most decks to deal with. Beauty of a list. This is again going to end up one of the best lists in Marvel Snap. Again, we're not done. Come check me out on Twitch tonight. We'll be recording the podcast. We have 2 of our great friends on the pod. We've got Toxic Soul King and Unfit Parrot. Make sure you're around at around 8:30 p.m. Eastern, twitch.tv/PulseGlazer. Our season pass question is: there are 4 new cards. Which do you think is the best? I bet you most of you say Batroc. I think Batroc is probably the best, but I'm not 100% sure. Most people think Batroc is the best. I'll tell you the one I think is close when we get there. So Batroc, Cougar, who we just talked about, says slot stat stick, which means this is just the card you play if you have a 1 and need stats. Ika says one of the best scaling ones that doesn't require too much to build around. Scottus says seems situationally broken, like Werewolf by Night is. Fair enough. Toxic Soul King, and I'll tell you anyone new. We talked about most of these people when we did the first Setter's top player thoughts. Toxic Soul King says loves how he turns out in any decks, either Scream or Move, best card out of them. Jocko, who is in the top 5 right now and has finished at number 2, is fundamentally always in the top 10. Italian player says Batroc looks like the best. Oh no, I never wrote what Sizer said. He's a powerful one drop with movement you can mostly control. We had Sizer top thoughts and I forgot to write them. I'm sorry, Sizer. I know you're watching. My bad. All right, Sizer's the number 1 player who loves move, and I really should have written his thoughts, but we ended up talking about other things, and then he joined my stream, and I completely forgot to go back to him and write them. My bads. All right, Jimmy Dickens says very solid. He's a superb inclusion in Scream decks because they need some dang help apparently. That is sarcasm. Scream decks don't need help. Skill testing card, generally very fun. Probably my favorite of the releases in concept. Reset Generation, another top player who's very low CL. He's hit rank 5. I don't know where exactly he is right now. I think he's around like 13 or 14. Has become the best one drop and a must have for Scream decks. Roram, who we talked about earlier, probably the best card of the 4. His scaling is incredibly high and easy to achieve. He could easily make every Sam list just due to how strong the effect is. Toxic, who peaked at rank 5, one of the viewers, hey Toxic, welcome to the show. Seems like a decent scaler for move, would love him as a 2 cost, i.e. he's too good right now as a 2, let's make him a little worse so we don't have to deal with him all over the place. Splat, Genius Deck Builder says, seems like an insane scaler if you can protect him. Honestly, even if he gets destroyed, he's just bonus power, it's not like you have to invest in him. Salty says insane and scream. Doc Guapo says busted for one drop, easily can be 1/8 or 1/10, can actually be a 1/12. Sko Denim, the head writer at Snapfan, brilliant deck builder, says scales big super easily. He's counterable, but he forces the opponent to have a counter. I think he's going to be a meta card for the foreseeable future. For at least the month, because we're not getting OTAs. Safety Blade, one of the Marvel Snap Zone writers, brilliant deck builder. You've played his decks, I promise, even if you don't know it. Batroc is busted good. I might even play it and not play Craven. Yep, you can not play Craven. I think you still should, but you can not play Craven here. Crime Afoot says, Madagascar, we like to move it. Batroc feels like the strongest individual card. Good reference. Scream Connoisseur says, completely busted. Best one drop in the game. I would slam in every deck together with Sam. Fair enough. Smiles, who goes by Dr. Shrimp Puerto Rico, top surfer player, often near the top of the Infinite leaderboard, says Batroc is great, amazing scaler for decks with Sam, and Scream uses him best. Heart of the Card Snap, who is currently in the top 10 with Surfer, was in the top 10 with Surfer last season, a staple in Scream and Move. And Honifer, again, another top 5 player, currently rank, I don't know, 8-ish, says best one of the bunch by far, just insane amounts of points with Scream, Sam, etc. Smiles, speaking of which, has the highest win rate right now, at least last I checked a few hours ago, of the Batroc decks. Batroc is an absolute monster in this style of list. He offers you enough points that you can run a slightly lower curve and try and counter the other Scream and Move decks. Scream Move decks are everywhere. If you're seeing Clog, you need to play that first deck, assuming you have access. And if you're not seeing Clog, instead you're just seeing a bunch more Scream and Move, this deck is built to counter those. All right, so this deck needs Scream and Sam. Batroc can be Hydra Bob. I think you probably really want Batroc for this. He sort of gives it enough power to not have to run Arrow, and it's absurd that I can run a one drop instead of Arrow. Red Guardian can be Rock and Groot, Hydra Stomper, or Silk. All right, I don't know how many times I can talk about Batroc, Sam Wilson, and Craven. So you play them the same way as always. Kingpin is one of your move counter cards. If they're playing move, you drop Kingpin. He will hit every card that moves into his lane. You have cards like, make sure you play him either mid or right if possible, because you can Stegron into him, Polaris into him. If they reveal first, Juggernaut into him will work. Spider-Man and Cannonball too. So he ends up playing really, really big in a move meta. You can move things into him, and sometimes they're not going to have a choice but to move things into him. If you've ever played move with the -4 location out, you should recognize that -4 location is very, very hard to play around if you're playing move. Kingpin does the same thing except his body. Scream remains one of the best cards of the game. Like Batroc may be challenging my theory of that, but Scream remains one of the best cards in the game. She's a 4 power scaler every time she moves, which is just through the roof powerful. Spider-Man is a nice cheap move. It helps clog things. It helps hit Craven. It gives you a Batroc trigger. All around good stuff. Juggernaut is one of your 2 potential end game plays. You're usually playing Juggernaut on 5 or 6. You can play it on 5 to clog or 6 to win a lane on the cheap. Red Guardian's amazing right now. There's a lot of Strange Supreme out there. There's a lot of Scream out there. There's a lot of Madam Web out there. Red Guardian says Polaris helps you clog things while also triggering your Craven and your Scream. Good stuff. Makes your Miles cheaper as well. Miles is a 1/6. You generally speaking want to play it around the end of the game because it's so cheap. It's always really good to play. Stegron does the same thing. Good power, helps clog, and helps trigger all the stuff Polaris does. And then Cannonball is your lane winner, especially if you can get that clog going earlier. If you can get clog and lose priority, Cannonball all but guarantees you a specific lane. So this is the best Scream win rate right now in Marvel Snap, at least as of a few hours ago. This is the one. Turn 1, Batroc over Kingpin. Turn 2, Scream is equal to Sam. Scream is a snap condition over Craven over 1. Turn 3, if Scream, Polaris. If Sam, Craven. Red Guardian if you have a prio target. That can be a snap too. Turn 4 is a 2/2, so if you drop Sam, now you can drop Scream and Craven. If more likely you drop Sam so that you can drop Craven, you can drop Scream and Miles. Stegron is perfectly fine here. You can also do 3/1, as the case may be. Stegron and a 1 or 3/2. Cannonball is fine if you want Juggernaut last turn. And Jug Plus or Cannonball and Miles is your last play. Props to Smiles. This list is absolutely crushing it right now. Like, genuinely, this is one of the best things to be doing in the game of Marvel Snap. It counters a ton of the meta, while Scream decks, and especially with Batroc now, are just through the roof powerful. They nerfed Scream 1 power, and then they gave it a +2 scaler. Topaz is my favorite of these cards. I think Topaz offers up incredibly interesting play patterns, and she is severely underrated. She is a very, very strong card. Active play a card here, move it to the middle location is amazing if you can do things to clog. Yes, sometimes she's going to backfire, but so does Batroc. I've again won multiple matches by using Batroc against opponents, by being able to say if I move this here, the Batroc will be there, and then I can do X, Y, or Z. Topaz lane can be hard to win. But if your middle is filled, that is suddenly no longer the case. My favorite builds for her so far have been Surfer, but we covered my 2 favorite Surfer builds already, one yesterday, one the day before. The deck she might be best in is probably the best move deck in the game. But first, let's do top player thoughts. Cougar says Sleeper, free move, and interesting deck building. Ika says a must for most move decks. Toxic Soul King says better Aranya. Love the idea, really solid and helps a lot. Jimmy Dickens says a bit overrated. I think she's a cute move enabler, but kind of clunky. Better than Hercules, but I don't think her inclusion in any move decks really improves them. Um, I'm not sure. I think well, let's wait for the next deck. Reset Generation says great for both bounce and move, and Heimdall version, it does boost move overall, making it even more dangerous. Roram says crazy good and heavily slept on. It's between Topaz and Batroc for the best card of the 4. I agree with Roram here, which isn't a shock. I talk to Roram a lot. Shang Enjoyer. Hey, Shang Enjoyer. Shang Enjoyer created some of our favorite move lists. He plays a lot of move, bounce. Wonderful player. Great person. Great, but has downside. I don't like. Has downside I don't like, which is if I don't have move enablers or full mid, becomes hard to contest her lane. Fair, but you do need to play her in decks that sort of build for that. W says still testing Topaz, but I want to love it, but I don't know yet, so unsure. Honifer says seems pretty good for a move and move bounce, probably a meaningful upgrade, but kind of boring. So everyone's going so crazy with the first 2 cards that there's less love and less experimentation with Topaz, but I do think she's very good. Particularly, Sizer has tried out and had great success with. He's playing a lot of sort of stuff over the last few days of the season. He's been off for a couple days, so he has cut Frigga. Any card that lets you cut Frigga in a move bounce list is really, really strong in that list. I'm going to go out on a limb. I don't think the Frigga cut's going to stick. I think Frigga will end up better than Topaz, but Topaz might end up better than like an Aranya or a Sage. She is that freaking good. She's crazy strong because what she does here is you play her and then you play like a Vulture and Torch, and now they're both in the middle. And then like you can play a Dagger, and then you can just drop a bounce card on that pile. That's really good. Like she gets you cards in the same location, even if she doesn't always have the best synergy with the other movers. I think she's awesome. I don't know how else to put that. I think she's absolutely, absolutely awesome. And she should definitely be played in a lot of move decks. And Move Surfer is a real deck. I'm so happy. All right. Creative list is twitch.tv/Sizer2654. Sizer is number 2 on the import leaderboard right now. He's usually number 1. He was number 1 like half of last year, I believe, like 6 months of last year, and he's been number 1 7 times so far. Aranya and Madame Web are still your needed cards here. Topaz can be Frigga, Taxon can be Falcon or Grandmaster, but those are way worse. Sage can be Frigga or Hulkbuster. Alright, Aranya, Ghost Spider, and Iron Fist are your move enablers. They want to give you like quick, easy moves. They're especially good with Human Torch, Aranya in particular, but they're your easy movers. They're your like, okay, as soon as I play a card, I want to enable a move for them. And then I've got my like more once they're on the board movers. My once they're on the board movers are Madam Web and Doctor Strange. Topaz is added to the first group of Aranya, Ghost Spider, and Iron Fist, but it works in a way similar to Madam Web where it is repeatable, and thus it like sticks on the board being a consistent single mover. A lot of times, especially for Vulture, a single move is really strong, and then if you can bounce or move from there, you start to really cook. That is your movers. Your power cards are Dagger, um, Vulture, and Human Torch. They all get big stupidly fast. That's fundamentally the idea here. Make these cards big, bounce them to hand to lose prio, and then win the game. Sage offers you a backup in case you don't see an extra mover because she's so much power. Again, Beast and Toxin are your bounce cards. You want to use them around turn 5 to try and throw priority so that your opponent can't beat you with a Killmonger, so that your opponent can't beat you with whatever kind of, right? So that your opponent can't mess you up. There's also just this incredible Topaz Madam Web play where you go turn 2 Madam Web, turn 3 Topaz, and Madam Web mid, and turn 3 Topaz either left or right, and then you spend the next couple turns dropping cards on that Madam Web to move them again. It's just so cool. It's so much power. All right, Aranya on turn 1, turn 2 Madam Web, who remains a snap condition. Beware Red Guardian, but remains a snap condition. Um, over double move for Torch, over Fist for Vulture. Turn 3, you can drop a mover on Web. You can drop Vulture if you drop Fist, or you can play Topaz over Sage. Sometimes you'll just have a pile of cards. If you can get a 68 Sage, it's worth playing it because remember, you can bounce it. Turn 4 is start to move shit mid, and then turn 5 is generally speaking bounce it. Turn 6, replay it. It ain't fancy, but it is effective. This is one of the very best decks in Marvel Snap. And that's sort of it, except there's still one more card, Fanfei. And we're going to do Fanfei top player thoughts, but we're not going to do a brand new deck. We already covered the best Fanfei deck. Fanfei is a classic move card. It might have another home, but with 4 new cards coming out, no one has checked that yet. Right now, all anyone has really bothered to check is that Fanfei is great in Heimdall move. So the thoughts are for Ika, good, but limited to dedicated move. Hey, that's what I said. W says, seems so solid on paper, but it's a competitive spot and a cut, I think. Fair enough. Toxic Soul King says, I just dislike activate 4 drops. Probably too slow, maybe has potential, but has a harder time with her. I hate most activate 4 drops. This one has been fine because it doesn't go in decks with other 4 drops. Like it is the only 4 in its deck, so I don't mind it nearly as much. Jocko says solid stats and a huge on-activate effect, especially with Heimdall. Great. Dickens says, I want Funfei to be playable, but 4-cost activators are just so bad. I think she has some potential, I really do, but so far she's just felt bad. Again, one deck. Roram says 4-cost activate cards are always very hard to make work and are usually replaceable. Felt similar feelings regarding this card. It's a very powerful effect, but it's just stuck in a bad keyword, activate. Ooh, is activate a bad keyword? You should sound off in the comments chat. I think it probably is. Honifer says really good for Heimdall move, but bugged. I don't know what the bug is. I should have checked, but time. I only have so many hours in a day. It's super late at night as I record this, friends. Salty says really strong in the Heimdall list. Yeah, that's where we play it. Doc Wapo says feels like the weakest of the bunch. Has surprise potential to play after a Heimdall move. Not a bad card, but probably not top for move. Again, I think it probably does go in Heimdall move. I'm not 1,000% sure, but I'm pretty sure. Scream Scream Connoisseur says seems gimmicky and fun, potential for a crazy last turn and move. Maybe there's some nice stuff outside of it. Question mark? No one knows. No one's tested that. We're gonna have to. I'm gonna like set Ika to that at some point. Shagan George says reversed Iron Fist gives more verticality to move. Has good stats that makes it worth playing on turn 6 without using its ability, and still has the mind games if you're going to use its ability if played on turn 4 or 5. That. All right. This is the list for the whatchamacallit, the Fanfei move. Topaz is wrong. It should be Aranya. This deck still has one of the top win rates in the game with Topaz in it. Go play it, friends. I don't know what to tell you. This list is kind of awesome. Like if you go Craven on 2 in mid and Topaz on 3, and then you just drop some shit there, right? Like you drop a Vulture there, or better, you drop a Vulture and a Human Torch there, and then you drop a Fanfei on those cards, and then you play Heimdall. You probably won that game. I'm just saying, you probably won that game, right? It's hard to say that you're gonna end up losing with that freaking much power all over the place. I think that this list is kind of awesome, but we also broke it down in great detail in yesterday's video. It was yesterday morning video. Yeah, we did two videos yesterday. So yesterday morning video's main deck. If you're interested, go check that out. Check out the stream team. Today is Thursday. If you're watching this early enough, the King of Canada should be streaming at about 12 p.m. Eastern. Go check out the homie, the King of Canada. Questions of the day. Our first and only question is Logical Knot says, there's a lot of cards I love playing with before they were nerfed, even though I totally understand why they needed a balance change. Are there any cards like that where you miss their old abilities, even though you don't think they should come back? I have two that immediately came to mind. There's probably a bunch more. Okay, I have three that immediately came to mind. I want Beast to give a permanent discount. I would like him to cost two and give a permanent discount, but even if he costs three and gives a permanent discount, I'm pretty happy. I understand why he can't, because Toxin means that now I can bounce Beast. And if I can bounce Beast and it's giving a permanent discount, I can now double permanent discount. And they don't really want that. That seems a little OP. I understand this in my head, but in my heart, I want it. I'm gonna keep going now because now there's 18 more cards. I really, really, really miss the 3/0+3 Surfer. I'm not 1,000. I'll never be 1,000% convinced we can't go back to that, or we can't at least try it again. I know Surfer's damn near was a tier one deck and is now still damn near a tier one deck, but I want it. Damn it. Zabu should not go back to this, but I love the 2/2 Zabu that had an ongoing ability of making forest cost one less. I think forest costing one less was a very, very powerful thing to do, and it made threes basically unplayable. We should not go back to it. And the big one I'd like to change, give Angela back 2/0+2 when played on her. Angela is amazing, and I love Angela, and I really, really wish she was great again. We can also make Kitty at 1/2 while we're there. Certain tier support on our Patreon cometh on air. Thanks. And it is absurdly late for me, so we're going to go relatively quickly. But if you'd like to be a patron, check out patreon.com/snapjudgments, please. First, we got our Bricks 2-click. Thank you so much to our patron of the month. Abigail Geese, Manager, Burnout, Eric Garland, Sally B, Ink Iron Frostman, Hotel Never Think, Booker Prime, Ryan Burke, Ryan Wood, Caretaker Lee, Query, Kazushi, Archangel 3K, Black Dahlia, Profos, The Goats Your Code, Hallowed, Only Fox, Synth, Fat Nick, Absolute Shadow, Nightmare, Dirty Casual, Mr. Kerfuffle, Cables, Mr. Kerfuffle, I played you, Cables, Ginger Prime, Philip Rakovich, Haplo, Ken, along to the Danger of the Business, Black Hughes, 23, Skippy G, Jessica Gamble, Mr. Slush, the King of Rose, Great Kazoo, Werewolf, Kepsioto, Lunacris, Clam, Colonel Vorbin, Rob Zimmerman, M. Holland, TVG, Wingfield, Steven, Brian Kaufman, Tristan Martin, Jason B, Mr. Cricksterry, Matt V, Remnant, Corbin, John Q, Jim McQ, Cube Down, Yes Star, Ace 8, One Big Man, Milkman for Reals, Cactus Jack, Reapser, BG, Quipro Joe, Snap Distance Joe, Dick Carlo, Rhymes, yo! Ooh, that's gonna be Ooh Town, O Town. O-Town's a real thing. Models, Mod Supreme, Biggity Boom Bot, Green, Goblin, Unibot, Flan, 56, The Fidel, Spectrum X, Hoot, Ocularis, Matt H, DJ Mike Hedging, Snow Freaking Flex, Nick the Greek Geek, Nicky! Streamed for like freaking 8 hours today. Toxic Soul King, it's Toxie, who just didn't sleep. It's 5 a.m. and he's still streaming. King, for him, not 5 a.m. for me. King of Canada! Did I say Zodrex? Zodrex, I love. Denman, Falcon, Fa, Thor, Newman, Jonesy, Triple Threats, killing it lately. Two Ties, Great Leonard, the Pirate King, Tucker, and of course, Gunny T, with the T stands for. Is there a second video today? Hard to say. I haven't actually decided, to be perfectly honest. Tomorrow, however, is the top 10 best decks in Marvel Snap, and with 4 new cards, we got some shakeups. I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.